This channel supports Extra Life in its efforts to raise money for the Children's Miracle Network. For more information about how to donate and join in their efforts, go to the link displayed here. Extra Life. Play games, heal kids. What up, everybody? This is your boy Black Magus, and I was sitting here rendering a video for a new series that I'm starting with my channel, trying to get back into the YouTube rhythm, so to speak. Basically what it is it's a series where I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play through the first couple of hours of a game, and then come back with my first impressions. I used to do first impressions all the time, but since I fell off a lot on YouTube, I haven't really gotten content up. I played so many games that I have not addressed, but I felt like, you know, I should start doing this now. Now, the perfect game would have been the one that I'm going to talk about in this video, but I totally forgot about it and didn't think about it. But all of a sudden, my resurgence on YouTube happened afterwards, because that game kind of inspired me to get back into doing gaming videos. The game I'm speaking about, God of War, the PlayStation 4 exclusive by Santa Monica Studios, the return of one of PlayStation's more beloved, but one of my most hated characters, Kratos. And you know, I did a podcast, by the way. I did a spoiler cast with my boy Eurostrix and Cardiac Sumo. So if you want to just skip this, you can go there. You can hear about the whole game and hear, like, beat for beat, all of my impressions from on all levels of the game, including theories and things like that. It was a really fun podcast, pretty long podcast, but if you guys have played God of War, you know why it would be, because there's so much to dive in. But I want to do these short form looking back videos on games that I've beaten, so that I can give some of you guys who may still have interest and who may not see the 2 hour later or the hours later series that I'm starting with the first impressions, and just want to, like, know overall, is the game satisfying from beginning to end? Because some people might not like to hear just impressions, because impressions can be very misleading. Game can start out great and then end up falling flat on its face. I'm hoping that Detroit Become Human doesn't do that, but then I know me and I know my expectations for the game, and I know what I get out of games like that, so in the end it probably won't, quote unquote, fall flat for me, but we'll see. But God of War, subject at hand. So looking back on this game, it was an amazing experience. I loved the story. I loved the interaction between the characters. I actually found myself actually getting into Kratos, who, again, for those who don't know me and who have never heard this before, I'm going to say it again. I think Kratos is one of the worst video game characters created. His motivations, his way of handling things, just the whole evolution, quote unquote, of Kratos, which is awful to me. God of War as a series was fun because it was a great hack and slash. You had these great, huge set piece moments with the boss battles, which were ridiculous on their scale and scope. Again, I find it hard pressed to find a more impressive boss battle than the Colossus of Rhodes. I know they've had a lot of great moments in that series, but the Colossus of Rhodes just, it set the fucking tone for that entire game. And it's just like, it's one of those things. I mean, even if you go back to the original God of War, the Hydra battle was one of those things. It's like their boss battles set the tone for the game. Starting off climbing on Gaia in part 3, things like that. Even if you played Ascension, when you have to fight the Harpies, or whatever they're called, I forget the name of them. That battle actually starts out pretty goddamn cool. You know, it starts the game pretty cool, even if you don't like Ascension. So, yeah, that's the draw to God of War. But Kratos, to me, was never the draw. Now, this game took it from a perspective of, you're going to engage with Kratos and go through his journey with his son. And through their journey, you got a different feel from this God of War. It was a more personable God of War. Now, Cory Barlog, the lead director of the game, had said that it kind of reflected his evolution as a person and his interactions with his son and what have you. So It shows very much so in this game. You get a more, I guess I can't say completely sedate Kratos, but a more mature Kratos who, yeah, he's still like, he's still very, very savage when it comes to combat, but he seems to try to make things. He tries to make decisions better, and not just completely lead with his fists. He's trying to foster his son along in this mindset that, hey, there are consequences to doing these actions, and you need to be prepared to take care of them if need be. You need to be able to handle this. You need to have the mental capacity to be able to understand what you're doing, why you're doing it, and not just go like running, stark mad and letting your emotions carry everything through you. You have to for for better or worse, Kratos is trying to make a better him, and you're taking this journey as he's trying to make a better him to complete this mission. And you get the interaction, you get the father and son interactions that are very, very cool. Moments where Kratos has to scold his son. He calls him boy all the time. It's hilarious because he just addresses him as boy. Kratos, it's funny because you still get Kratos because Kratos is still kind of like a dick. He doesn't address people by their name. He always addresses like what they are, like be it boy, woman, head. It's like we got a goddamn name, motherfucker. Say a name. You can have a real conversation, but you still get that distance and that like kind of tight jerkish Kratos. But you can tell like he's trying not to be as much of a jerk, which I thought was very, very cool, which was kind of endearing, which is weird for me to say because again I don't like the character of Kratos, but I found myself in moments, especially moments where like there were interactions where he was actually right. And endearing myself to him and sympathizing or at least empathizing with how he felt. As I don't have any kids, I can't understand that dynamic, but you can see moments where you would feel like I could understand where he's coming from and why he's doing such. There's moments where you'd be like, he's a jerk. In fact, for a lot of the game, I still maintained an idea of him being a jerk. Except for there was this real big plot turn that I'm not going to talk about that kind of shook up my whole perception of things. And it just made me realize, like, I'm being hard on this character for his past, which a lot of people are. I think you see some of that happen in the game where people kind of bring up his past, but he's not the same Kratos, which I found very, very refreshing. The combat also isn't the same. The game style, period, is not the same. It's totally different from what you've ever experienced in the God of War series. This third-person action is less button mashy. You still get the satisfaction of kind of the button mash, but you have to be a lot more smarter and tactical in your movements. The axe brings a whole level of strategy that I was so happy. That axe feels so good. As me and other people have said, if they ever decide to make a Thor video game, they need to call Santa Monica and take that Leviathan axe and its mechanics and put that in there because it makes you feel like it's weird because you're playing within the Norse mythology, but you're not playing as Thor. But the way the axe behaves and the things that it does, it brings to mind of what it could be like to actually have to wield Mjolnir, if you had a Thor game. So I thought that was really, really cool. Great mechanic. Camera problems sometimes because it's a fixed camera. It doesn't move from Kratos. So therefore, you will have to... Well, it does, but it's still a fixed camera. It's kind of like the camera moves to when it's in the cinematic scene. But as far as combat, there's no real movement in the camera. So it's always fixed on Kratos. When you're walking around, it's always fixed on Kratos. So you have to be mindful of that because sometimes if you get yourself stuck in a corner, you may not know it because you can't necessarily see that corner. So that can be an issue. But when it comes to combat, it's very, very fluid, very, very nice. The world is really fleshed out. There's a lot going on in that world, and the characters make the world even more lively because the conversations that they engage in when you're just traveling in a boat or walking on foot, they're really personable, and they're also chock full of lore. Especially when you get to a certain point of the game and you run into a particular character, you start like hearing all this stuff about Greek mythology in the background and understanding the world better, and that helps in a way that a lot of games don't take advantage of because it's pretty open world. You have a linear path that you could take, but you don't have to take it. You can do a lot. There's a lot to do in this game, but the characters themselves encourage you to do that stuff by the storytelling, the things that they say, and how they interact when they get to certain places and all of that. It's like, oh, maybe I should check this out. You know, even Atreus, he kind of says stuff when you get to a point in the story. He's like, well, you know, now that we've, you know, did this, we can actually go here if we really want to. I mean, I understand we got, you know, our mission to do, but don't you want to see this? He kind of like, you know, nudges you a little, which I thought was very cute. How he just kept reminding you, you don't have to just burn through this game. There's a lot to do, lot to see. So I thought that was a great touch. Negatives, I would say, I didn't find the repetitive enemies negative because, again, most games have repetitive enemies. I don't know why people consistently like to throw that out as a bad thing about games because 9 times out of 10, you're not going to get a huge enemy variety. Now, the boss variety, of course, it wasn't probably as deep as the other God of Wars, only simply in the fact that you tend to get the same type of enemy, but there were different classifications and different levels of this enemy. So it's like, yeah, this is kind of the same skin, but you had to actually take different approaches to them. So it's like, if you're just talking from a visual aspect, sure, there's like a lot of repetitive enemies, but they don't all fight the same, and they throw a curve. Even in the most mundane enemies, you'll find like different variations. And what's a cool thing about it is that your son Atreus, he keeps a journal, and the journal is written as if a child was writing it. So that makes it even better. And you know, he's telling you these different, giving you these tips, tricks, strategy, all, but doing it with the exuberance of a child or the wonder of a child. So it was a really nice personal touch to that. But they give you a blueprint to how to fight these things and let you know what you have to do to, like, you know, switch up your strategy when you see what may look like the same type of enemy but has a totally different variation that makes it extremely dangerous to handle in some cases. Some things that you thought like you could just whip through, once they make that change, yeah, you got to fight a different battle, which I thought was really cool. What would be another negative? I would say, yeah, beyond the camera maybe, and like reskinning enemies, which I don't find an issue, because again, like I said, even that is kind of a plus. I didn't have an issue with the puzzles. I actually like these puzzles better than I've liked in any God of War game. They gave meaning to upgrades because different upgrades, different things that you got, different points that you got, mattered because it could change the way that you interact with the world and do side quests and like you access to things. The game was a great game. I really loved this game. I enjoyed the story, the hell out of the story. I guess the other negative would be, I found the ending. It was a satisfying ending, but I felt like the way that it was executed was kind of that's it. You know what I mean? It kind of gave me a that's it feeling, but it left you satisfied because even though you got there, it had more to it, and that more to it kind of saved it. It was like, yeah, this is like I didn't expect it. Like I didn't expect it to end like this, but the stuff that you gave me in the dialogue more than made up for the abruptness of it, I think. But yeah, great game. Definitely suggest that if you have a PlayStation 4 or you plan on getting one, God of War should be one of the first games you play, or it should be a game that you should already have in your library if you already own one, because it's definitely a great experience. But anyway, as always, feel free to hit me up. Let me know what you think, and I'll holler at you later. This your boy Black Makers, and I'm out. Deuces.